All right, so back on the economiccollapseblog.com, Michael Snyder's site, his last few articles has been about the solar eclipse, the alignment, all this, astrological stuff and the biblical stuff. And I look again today, here's another one, August 15th. Rick Wiles issues an extremely ominous warning. The alarms are ringing again. What is this? What you are about to read is going to absolutely shock you. Rick Wiles has done outstanding work over at True News for well over a decade, and now just days before the August 21st solar eclipse, he has issued his most ominous warning ever. His warning is not directly related to the eclipse, but I find it extremely interesting that it is coming at approximately the same time, because many consider the eclipse itself to be some sort of warning. I was a True News listener way before I ever started the Economic Collapse blog, and I know Rick's track record. So I would take what follows very, very seriously. And now I got to get into my serious sitting posture position. In 1998, a very unusual series of events resulted in Rick meeting a wonderful Christian lady named Leah Mandel at a conference. 3 years later, Leah made a very strange phone call to Rick on August 11th, 2001. Which was precisely 1 month before the 9/11 attacks. When Rick answered the phone, Leah began telling him that the alarms are ringing. She said, "Rick, something very odd is happening today. Alarm bells. Everywhere I go today, there are alarms ringing. Car alarms, burglar alarms, fire alarms, even oven alarms. Every place I go, I hear alarms ringing. What's really strange is people are having trouble turning the alarms off. I go into stores, the alarm is ringing. I go into an office, the alarm is ringing. And they can't get the things to turn off. The Lord told me, call Rick Wiles and tell him the alarms are ringing, and this time they will not be turned off." The moment she said that, Rick's seatbelt alarm started ringing, even though his seatbelt was fastened. 1 month later, we all know, was September 11th, 2001. I've never in my life heard this story, by the way. First time. I don't say that this is false. I know who he's talking about. If they said this, I totally believe this. Exactly 16 years later, on August 11th, 2017, Leah called Rick again. So let's back up. She called him August 11th, 2001, a month before 9/11. But when? August 11th. 16 years later, August 11th, she calls him again. Okay? She called to tell him that the alarms are ringing again. And that she was seeing dead birds fall out of the sky everywhere. 3 days ago, on August 11th, 2016, Rick was driving to his church when suddenly a dead bird fell from the sky and smashed into his windshield. The bird did not fly into his path, but fell out of the sky like it was already dead. Then he received a phone call from Leah Mandel saying, "Rick, the alarms are ringing. Everywhere I go today, alarms are ringing, and there's something else. Dead birds. I'm seeing dead birds. It seems like everywhere I go, there's a dead bird." End quote from her. Then he realized the date was August 11th. The same date when Leah had called him 16 years earlier with a similar warning. I'm going to stop for a second. I've been telling you since late last year, early this year, I really think September 23rd, whatever time frame of this year is the one that they've been putting in the movies. They don't put the year, but for the last 3 years probably or so, we kept seeing that damn thing in your face, in your face. I was watching, remember the other one? What was that movie? Was it Wolf Street? One of these ones, and where the guy comes on and takes, it's like a Jim Cramer, stock, buy, sell, and the guy made this kid lose all of his life savings, so he went in there to hold him hostage because he was pissed off, and then the executive at this particular company, who's kind of the one that's really at fault, flies in on his private jet, and the number on the back of it is 777 something. In the beginning of the movie, it talks about there's a, the company's name is Swan, something Swan, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, Black Swan, like Black Swan event. And then, oh, the time is 9:23. There it is. I caught that as soon as I watched the movie, and I took notes, I took pictures. And just for the heck of it, did I put it on my calendar? September 23rd? Yes, I did. Did anything happen interesting on? And I'm going to read you my notes. Before I continue here, I just want to read you my notes for September 23rd because I did, in fact, put it on my calendar. I was able to catch the Super Bowl just after the Gaga halftime show. Luckily, I missed it. But one of the commercials was an old Western scene. 3 outlaw types are in the streets. A bar comes outside from the saloon. A bar, maybe, I don't know why I said bar. Something comes outside the saloon bar and says, "You boys early." Checks his watch and says, "It's not even the third," 23, or third quarter of the year. The third quarter yet. Then the 3 men are shot. And then just after the entire Hollywood facade falls apart, the backdrop tips over, crashes down, and chaos ensues. My interpretation is it was a subliminal commercial, meaning the trumpet-man is out on the streets, the bad man from the dark saloon. And I think someone sent this to me, by the way. This isn't me talking. I can tell now because I can see the guy's, his name's Andrew. The bad man from the dark saloon, third quarter Super Bowl reference really means the third final quarter, September time frame. The 3 men were shot, interpreted as an assassination attempt, then sending the entire Old West scene crumbling, whatever. Now, last year, September 23rd, I'm just looking real quick, hang on. September 23rd, 2016. Oh, that's the wrong one. Because I always give myself notes. I'm not seeing it here though for some reason last year. I'm only saying that because I remember that particular movie and I did talk about it. I think I may have even done a video on it. Anyways, I felt like all I'm saying is I still feel the same as I did earlier this year. I'm hearing this now and this is kind of alarming to me. August 11th, 16 years ago. Same situation. Now she's talking about dead birds falling, and by chance one has fallen out of this guy and hit this guy's car on the same day. I mean, come on. You want to talk about signs? You can dismiss this if you want, but how are you going to explain away what happened 16 years ago? I don't know what all this could mean, but I am definitely concerned about all of the pivotal events that are going to happen over a 40-day period, beginning with the solar eclipse on August 21st. Many believe that a turning point for America is right around the corner, and without a doubt, the mood of the nation is turning quite sour. Anger and frustration are growing everywhere you look, and it isn't going to take much to cause a major explosion, so to speak. Earlier today, I came across a New York article entitled, "Is America Headed for a New Kind of Civil War?" In that article, it was revealed that many top national security experts believe that there is a significant chance that civil war will erupt in the United States within the next 10 to 15 years. And it says, America's stability is increasingly an undercurrent in political discourse. Earlier this year, I began conversation with Keith Mines about America's turmoil. Mines has spent his career in the U.S. Army Special Forces, the United Nations, and now the State Department, navigating civil wars in other countries, including Afghanistan, Colombia, El Salvador, Iraq, Somalia, and Sudan. He returned to Washington after 16 years to find conditions that he had seen nurture conflict abroad, now visible at home. It haunts him. In March, Mines was one of several national security experts whom Foreign Policy asked to evaluate the risks of a second civil war with percentages. He concluded that the United States faces a 60% chance of civil war over the next 10 to 15 years. Other experts' predictions ranged from 5% to 95%. The sobering consensus was 35%. And that was 5 months before Charlottesville. I found this to be absolutely fascinating because I have been repeatedly warning about the same exact thing. Just look at what happened today. Even though the economy is still relatively stable, once we get to the point where unemployment is rampant and millions of people don't know where their next meal is coming from, chaos and violence are going to spiral completely out of control. On Saturday and Sunday, Pastor Benjamin Faircloth and I are going to be jointly ministering at the What's Next Prophecy Conference at his church in Livonia. One of the phrases that has been coming up in my heart over and over again in recent weeks is this: if America does not turn back to God, there isn't going to be an America. This is one of the reasons why the ominous warning that Wiles just issued immediately got my attention. I believe that we are entering very troubled times, and yet most Americans appear to be completely oblivious to what is about to happen. You can hear Rick Wiles talk about his recent phone call with Leah Mandel right here. He links it. I am so thankful for Rick and my other friends over at True News. They are good people and they often report things that nobody else will. Yes, I understand that some of you may think that this article has been a bit unusual, but the truth is that we are living in very strange times and they are getting stranger by the day. As I always say, let us hope for the best, but let's also get prepared for the worst. And I strongly agree with that statement 100 freaking %. Yes, I'll be linking this article, and if you want to scroll down towards the bottom where he says the link right here, which takes you to True News. Matter of fact, I'll post both links. How about that? I'll post both links so you can go right to it. Take care.